I'm Michelle Dockery and I play Lady Mary Crawley. We pick up 6 months on. Mary is very much still in mourning for Matthew, whereas the rest of the house are slowly moving on and getting on with their lives. So there is this feeling of wanting to pull her out of this grief that she's in, inevitably. But it is a long time, and she refuses to wear anything other than black. So that's where you find Mary's character.
And how does Lady Mary cope with motherhood now that she's on her own? Because that must be quite tough for her.
Yeah, although it's not that tough for an aristocrat, because of course she has a nanny. She doesn't really do anything herself, because they wouldn't back then. I mean, Edith, Sybil and Mary, when they were growing up, probably wouldn't have seen that much of Cora and Robert, because it's just, it's the way it was. You had a governess or a nanny and they would see mum and dad at lunchtime and then once before dinner or something. So I think, which is convenient, because Mary's not the most maternal of mothers, I'm discovering. And that is also to do with having lost Matthew. The baby obviously reminds, she has a son and he obviously reminds her of Matthew. But she's coping all right. In some ways it feels like going back to series 1, because there are these new suitors around, and yeah, there is more than one, and the family are trying to kind of help her to move on, because she has to find another husband eventually. So there is Gillingham, who's played by Tom Cullen, who is an old family friend, and they knew each other when they were young, so they have a connection. He's very dashing, very charming, and there is certainly an interest there. And there's also a character called Charles Blake, who is a friend of Evelyn Napier, who is introduced to Mary. So there is interest, but where it's going, I won't give it away.
And we're used to Lady Mary being a very central character. In her grief, will she be as central, or will she step back slightly, or will this series very much be on her becoming into a new person?
Well, like every series, Downton is very much an ensemble, so there is so much going on and so many different storylines interweaving with one another. It's certainly a new chapter for Mary. There's part of her that reverts back to being like she was in series 1, which I've really enjoyed playing, that kind of cold, quite, a bit of a sting in her tail, which I've enjoyed doing again. But it's all about new beginnings, I guess, and recovery. That's what this series is about for the character.
And will we see Lady Mary and Lady Edith become closer through the grief, and Lady Rose, the arrival of Lady Rose
I
as well?
think with Edith, I think that they've certainly matured. Both of them have grown up as each series has gone on. So they're not quite as immature with each other. They're not quite as catty. But there's still that tension between them, which Laura and I really enjoy playing. And with Rose, Mary slightly kind of adopts the older sister role with Rose, like similarly to the way she was with Sybil. She certainly looks out for Rose and doesn't want her to make any mistakes, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, and for anyone who's not watched Downton Abbey before, how would you describe series 4? In a nutshell, how would you sum up?
Well, I would say that series 4 really kicks off the 1920s, as much as the grief of the passing of Matthew has been, that's certainly addressed, particularly at the beginning, far more. I think this year it really does sing the 20s, and characters like Rose and Edith are very much the bright young things. The costumes have really moved on this series. So I think there's certainly an energy and a brightness about series 4.
And just finally, the Christmas special is always, a must-see episode. Last year you filmed in Scotland. How was that?
Yeah, it was wonderful. I loved it, and we had it was like a holiday for all of us, because normally we're at the studios or we're at Highclere Castle. So being in Scotland for a week was just a big adventure for us all. And we had quite a few social nights, a few parties in Scotland.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And can you tell us anything about the Christmas special this year?
Well, we have Shirley MacLaine and Paul Giamatti joining us for the Christmas special, so that's certainly the kind of big number this year.